Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to Get Hit with the Truth. So today, going to discuss the what's next for the undefeated and reigning WBC heavyweight champion, #1 heavyweight in the world, Tyson Fury, coming off of his career best win, his 11th round knockout, and his third fight against Deontay Wilder in an emotional back and forth fight. Really epic trilogy right here that I'll never forget. And he sealed it with a kiss by face planting Deontay Wilder and knocking him out, but not without some adversity. You know, it was a good fight to start. I had him splitting the first 2 rounds. Then Fury was whipping Wilder's ass in the 3rd round and knocked him down hard, and it looked like we were gonna see a clean knockout win. And then 4th round, Wilder was getting hit, he was getting beat, and he landed a money short right hand that dropped Tyson Fury hard. Fury got up, he got put down moments later, and he barely got up the second time. Finished the round. Then they went into the 5th through the 9th, were pretty much Tyson Fury rounds, but then Deontay Wilder would land 1 or 2 big shots that really made you think he could still knock Fury out at any moment, and he was still in the fight. But then he got put down again in the 9th or 10th round, and after that knockdown, he just looked exhausted. Like, he just couldn't find that 4th, 5th, 6th wind that in him after finding digging deep so much during that fight. But Fury just continued to put it on him, and in the 11th round, he started landing some big shots, and Wilder was looking more and more like he was going to go. And then Fury landed just a wicked right hand that face planted Deontay Wilder and ended his night, knocking him out, as Fury left no doubt in the 3rd fight that he was a better man than Deontay Wilder. But a great end to their trilogy. And now the big question is, what's next for Tyson Fury, the undefeated WBC heavyweight champion? Well, as you know, you should know that the WBC prior to the fight said that unless Fury and Alexander Usyk could fight for the undisputed title next, that Fury would have to make a mandatory defense. The winner would have to make a mandatory defense. And, you know, I'm pretty sure, you know, Anthony Joshua is going to cash in on his automatic rematch clause with Alexander Usyk. You know, it makes sense. He didn't lose by much. It was a good, solid fight. I think Joshua is going to want that rematch. So I think that's going to, you know, cancel an undisputed title fight between Fury and Usyk. But we're going to run through the top 10 and see what could be possible and what could be next for the undefeated WBC heavyweight champion, Tyson Fury. Like I said, Tyson Fury's #1. Alexander Usyk, the unified champion's #2. The only way I see this fight happening next is if Anthony Joshua foregoes and passes on his automatic rematch clause against Alexander Usyk and allows an undisputed title fight to happen. That's the only way. I think it's possible. I just don't think it's likely. But it definitely could happen. You don't know. And we'll see. But that's the only way I see Fury and Usyk colliding next. #3 is Anthony Joshua. Fury and Anthony Joshua. Not seeing it. You know, I mean, this is a fight we almost saw for the undisputed title. Maybe we'll get this fight sometime next year. Maybe in the second half of next year. But I think Joshua is going to have to go and beat Alexander Usyk first. And while he's doing that, Fury's going to make his mandatory against the winner of Dillian Whyte and Otto Wallin. And then maybe we can see these 2 guys lock horns in the second half of next year. But I still not sure, because it's almost for sure not going to be for the undisputed title. Those belts have mandatory challengers. And, you know, at some point, the mandatories have to be made. And I think 2022 is going to be a mandatory title defense year for the heavyweight division. But we'll see. Okay, so #4 would be a 4th fight with Deontay Wilder. That's just not going to happen. He's beaten Wilder pretty much 3 times now, and he's knocked him out twice. No reason for a 4th fight, especially not next, and especially not in 2022, in my opinion. So, no, I'm not seeing that one. Number 5 is Dillian Whyte. I think it's the most likely option here for Tyson Fury's next fight. I don't believe he's going to get the Usyk fight, because Usyk is probably going to have to fight Anthony Joshua in a mandatory rematch. And when that happens, the WBC has already said the winner of Fury and Wilder 3 has to make a mandatory next if the undisputed title is not an option. So, Dillian Whyte is the interim champion right now. He's fighting Otto Wallin on October 30th. If he beats Otto Wallin, and Tyson Fury and him should be colliding sometime in the early 2022. And Frank Warren's already said that he wants to stage the fight in the United Kingdom between these two guys to make it huge. So, we'll see. But I really do think this is the most likely option right here, is Dillian Whyte. Now, number 6 is former unified champion Andy Ruiz Jr. I wouldn't completely rule this fight out. I wouldn't. The WBC has been known to be very, very corrupt, and they usually fight when a guy on Fury's level, they will cater to him and bow to him and let him fight whoever the hell he wants. And I'll tell you a case where I think an Andy Ruiz might be an option is if Otto Wallin were to defeat Dillian Whyte. I absolutely think that the WBC, because Fury already beat Otto Wallin, so Fury would not probably want to fight him again, and the WBC would allow Fury to fight somebody bigger, somebody with a bigger name, and Andy Ruiz has a huge name. So I really wouldn't be surprised if Fury and Andy Ruiz locked horns, even if they locked horns after a mandatory title defense, because Ruiz has a big name, and if Fury were to get get his mandatory out of the way between the winner of White and what's his name, and a Usyk fight is not possible, I think Andy Ruiz would be a great option for Tyson Fury. Fury could go in there and say, I'm going to knock Andy Ruiz out, something that what's his name couldn't do, Anthony Joshua couldn't do. So yeah, I definitely think that fight's possible next or even after a mandatory defense. Number 7, former world title challenger Luis Ortiz. I just think it's a bad matchup for Fury that he would only take if he had to take it, And what's the point? He's knocked out Deontay Wilder twice, and Wilder knocked out Ortiz twice. So, really wouldn't make sense unless Ortiz had another title, or unless he was a mandatory and he doesn't have either one of those. So, yeah, I'm not seeing it. Okay, number 8, Joseph Parker. Not likely, and unless this fight is a mandatory. Even though Parker's fighting Derek Chisora next in a rematch, I just don't think it's a fight Tyson Fury's going to consider. Parker doesn't have a huge name. He kind of has an awkward style. It's not going to be like a pretty fight, an exciting fight. And Parker's also got a good chin and can go the distance. So, unless it's a mandatory, which it wouldn't be, I don't see this one. Number 9, Michael Hunter. You never know, but I just don't think Hunter has a big enough name. I think Fury at this point now he is the WBC champion. It's going to be big names are mandatories. And Michael Hunter is not a mandatory. He doesn't have a big name. And Fury's in that position where he doesn't have to take these tune-up bouts anymore. He can pretty much fight whoever he wants now, because he has the world title. So I think he's going to be able to get all the big fights that he wants now. And Michael Hunter's just not on that level right now. So, sad to say, but I don't think Hunter stands a chance to get a Fury fight. Unless it's a mandatory. Now the 3-way tie for 10th. First, Derek Chisora. Tyson Fury's beaten Chisora twice earlier in his career. Even if Chisora were to upset Joseph Parker, I just don't think it's a likely next option or to happen in 2022. I don't think Fury's interested, so I'm going to say no. Also tied for 10, Joe Joyce. This guy's, he's an older fighter, so I don't want to call him an up-and-comer, but he's doesn't have a huge name, and he's rising up right now, and I think it's just too risky of a fight when Fury has so many other options. So I'm not seeing it. And then finally, also tied for 10th is Otto Wallin, which would be a rematch. This fight is actually very possible, surprisingly so, because Wallin is fighting Dillian Whyte on October 30th for the WBC interim heavyweight title. And if he wins, then the WBC said they would mandate the winner of Fury Wilder to fight the number one contender or interim champion, and that's going to be Otto Wallin if he beats Dillian Whyte. So, and I think he's got a solid shot at winning that fight, Otto Wallin. So we could have to see Tyson Fury and Otto Wallin too in early 2022. So never know. And Otto Wallin, in all honesty, he almost beat Fury by knockout when they fought in September of 2019. He almost beat him by knockout because the cut that he opened up, the fight almost got stopped because of that cut on Fury, and it was opened up by a punch. So Otto Wallin came very close to upending everything in the heavyweight division, and he's got a couple decent wins since, especially over Dominic Breazeale over 12 rounds. So he definitely has the tools to beat Dillian Whyte, and I wouldn't be surprised if he did, and that could line him up for a rematch with Tyson Fury. So after all that, I really think the most likely option for Fury is going to be a Dillian Whyte showdown, but I really think Otto Wallin could be next. And outside options would be Alexander Usyk for the undisputed title if Anthony Joshua doesn't want the rematch, but I think he will. And then I really do think an outside option is a showdown with Andy Ruiz Jr., the former champ. So that's it. That's the what's next on the Undefeated Tyson Fury, the WBC heavyweight champion. I hope you guys enjoyed it. True boxing. You've been here with the truth.